Hi there Striker, our featured video is the real story of the famous ship. The Titanic was a luxury British steamship that sank in the early hours of April 15, 1912 after striking an iceberg, leading to the deaths of more than 1,500 passengers and crew. The RMS Titanic, a luxury steamship, sank in the early hours of April 15, 1912. Off the coast of Newfoundland in the North Atlantic after sideswiping an iceberg during its maiden voyage. Of the 2,240 passengers and crew on board, more than 1,500 lost their lives in the disaster. Titanic has inspired countless books, articles and films, including the 1997 Titanic movie starring Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio. And the ship's story has entered the public consciousness as a cautionary tale about the perils of the building of the RMS Titanic. The Titanic was the product of intense competition among rival shipping lines in the first half of the 20th century. In particular, the White Star Line found itself in a battle for steamship primacy with Cunard, a venerable British firm with two standout ships that ranked among the most sophisticated and luxurious of their time. Cunard's Mauretania began service in 1907 and quickly set a speed record for the fastest average speed during a transatlantic crossing, 23.69 knots or 27.26 miles per hour, a title that it held for 22 years. Cunard's other masterpiece, Lusitania, launched the same year and was lauded for its spectacular interiors. Lusitania met its tragic end on May 7, 1915, when a torpedo fired by a German U-boat sunk the ship, killing nearly 1,200 of the 1,959 people on board and precipitating the United States' entry into World War I. Did you know? Passengers traveling first class on Titanic were roughly 44% more likely to survive than other passengers. The same year that Cunard unveiled its two magnificent liners, J. Bruce Ismay, chief executive of White Star, discussed the construction of three large ships with William J. Pirrie, chairman of their shipbuilding company Harland and Wolff. Part of a new Olympic class of liners, each ship would measure 882 feet in length and 92.5 feet at their broadest point, making them the largest of their time. In March 1909, work began in the massive Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland, on the second of these three ocean liners, Titanic, and continued non-stop for 2 years. On May 31, 1911, Titanic's immense hull, the largest movable man-made object in the world at the time, made its way down the slipways and into the River Lagan in Belfast. More than 100,000 people attended the launching, which took just over a minute and went off without a hitch. The hull was immediately towed to a mammoth fitting-out dock where thousands of workers would spend most of the next year building their ship's decks, constructing her lavish interiors and installing the 29 giant boilers that would power her two main steam engines. Unsinkable. Titanic's fatal flaws. According to some hypotheses, Titanic was doomed from the start by a design that many lauded as state-of-the-art. The Olympic-class ships featured a double bottom and 15 watertight bulkhead compartments equipped with electric watertight doors that could be operated individually or simultaneously by a switch on the bridge. It was these watertight bulkheads that inspired Shipbuilder magazine, in a special issue devoted to the Olympic liners, to deem them practically unsinkable. But the watertight compartment design contained a flaw that was a critical factor in Titanic's sinking. While the individual bulkheads were indeed watertight, the walls separating the bulkheads extended only a few feet above the waterline, so water could pour from one compartment into another, especially if the ship began to list or pitch forward. The second critical safety lapse that contributed to the loss of so many lives was the inadequate number of lifeboats carried on Titanic. A mere 16 boats, plus 4 Angelhart collapsibles, could accommodate just 1,178 people. Titanic could carry up to 2,435 passengers, and a crew of approximately 900 brought her capacity to more than 3,300 people. As a result, Even if the lifeboats were loaded to full capacity during an emergency evacuation, there were available seats for only one-third of those on board. While unthinkably inadequate by today's standards, Titanic's supply of lifeboats actually exceeded the British Board of Trade's requirements. Passengers on the Titanic created quite a stir when it departed for its maiden voyage from Southampton, England, on April 10, 1912. After stops in Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, now known as Cobb, Ireland, the ship set sail for New York with 2,240 passengers and crew, or souls, the expression then used in their shipping industry, usually in connection with a sinking, on board. As befitting the first transatlantic crossing of the world's most celebrated ship, many of these souls were high-ranking officials, wealthy industrialists, dignitaries and celebrities. First and foremost was the White Star Line's managing director, J. Bruce Ismay, accompanied by Thomas Andrews, the ship's builder from Harland and Wolff. Absent was financier J.P. Morgan, whose International Mercantile Marine Shipping Trust controlled the White Star Line and who had selected Ismay as a company officer. Morgan had planned to join his associates on Titanic but cancelled at the last minute when some business matters delayed him. The wealthiest passenger was John Jacob Astor IV, heir to the Astor family fortune, who had made waves a year earlier by marrying 18-year-old Madeleine Talmadge Force, a young woman 29 years his junior, shortly after divorcing his first wife. Other notable passengers included the elderly owner of Macy's, Isidor Straus, and his wife Ida, industrialist Benjamin Guggenheim, accompanied by his mistress, valet and chauffeur, and widow and heiress Margaret Molly Brown, who would earn her nickname, the Unsinkable Molly Brown, by helping to maintain calm and order while the lifeboats were being loaded and boosting the spirits of her fellow survivors. The employees attending to this collection of first-class luminaries were mostly traveling second class, along with academics, tourists, journalists and others who would enjoy a level of service and accommodations equivalent to first class on most other ships. But by far the largest group of passengers was in third class, more than 700, exceeding the other two levels combined. Some had paid less than $20 to make the crossing. It was third class that was the major source of profit for shipping lines like White Star, and Titanic was designed to offer these passengers accommodations and amenities superior to those found in third class on any other ship.